I really want to learn about, in addition to closing, is follow up. And I've been in different masterminds, and I've heard this multiple times where they say the fortune is in the follow up. And this is something I'm afraid of it, or afraid of. You have all these fears. I was reading this book called Zero Resistance Selling, and it wasn't really about selling. It was like all about your own psychology. It didn't teach you any techniques whatsoever, but it was teaching you about, like, why do we have that resistance when it comes to sales? Like, why can't we make the calls, or why can't we follow up with people? Why can't we go out and network with people? And it all comes down to your own insecurities, but mostly fears. I guess fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of being labeled a salesperson. So
say that first quote again, though. The money's in the follow up.
The fortune is in the follow up.
That's interesting, because PBD says something different. But let's continue that. Let's continue this, and we'll talk about that after.
So Waleed, tell us, like, in your experience, like, how many people buy on the first call versus how many people buy just because you follow up, and what should be the schedule of follow up?
If you're selling high ticket and you're trying to get as few clients as possible, I would say just go for the next call.
Yeah.
Closing ratio is like 6 out of 10, right?
Yeah.
Then you go on a call, 1 out of 2, there's a 1 by 2 chance or 6 out of 10 chance that you're going to close him.
Yeah.
Versus if you're going to someone who already said no, then it's not as big. The problem with most people, the reason they go into follow-ups in the first place is because they think they closed them in the sale, but they didn't really close them. Closing them means you get them to pay you. As soon as you ask them what do you think would be a reasonable investment to get this kind of return, you don't people just finish it off there. Okay, so you're okay with $5,000, perfect, and then they get off the call. What you should do is, okay, I'll send you an invoice today, or I'll send you an agreement today. Could you get that back to me today? Or can I have your credit card details and fill it out right now? Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
You should get it done. The problem is people do the entire sales thing. They do the entire sales thing. Everything is perfect. And then they don't really close them. They don't get that sale. The sale is done when they pay you, not when you get that commitment.
Right.
If they don't pay you now, it's very likely they're not going to pay you at all. That's my experience. You have to make sure they pay right now or today. So you say, hey, I'm going to send you an agreement. If you're fine with that, can you get that back to me? Can you get that back to me today?
I mean, honestly, I'll give you like one of the things I did with years ago. I remember my buddy told me to do this with dating, but I feel like a lot of this stuff applies. So he was saying that every time he was trying to like date someone, right, and this person flaked on him, then he called it the Jamie newsletter. And what that was is he took all of those girls that were not messaging him back, or like they flaked him, or they're just not interested, and he would just send them a generic hello every 2 weeks. Just a generic, oh my God, I love Starbucks. Something dumb like that. Open-ended, silly, like something more silly than that, obviously. And he was saying that like every couple of months, and he had like 10 or 15 people on his like newsletter. But he's saying every couple of months, every 2 weeks, you just message back, very low attachment, very low like work on it. He literally put them all on one list. But I've seen people say this to do this about, because PBD, Patrick Bet-David, he says to do this with follow-ups too. He basically says like it's kind of like a scripted thing that you can hand off to a little bit like of an assistant, where you kind of go, okay, this person has taken a sales call, they know about our product, they watch our videos, whatever. Every 2 weeks, you have to do this scripted follow-up. It's either an email automated, or maybe it's a call from someone very polite.
I don't think you should have a scripted follow-up, because if someone didn't buy from you, it's because of some objection that they didn't get handled. Right. So your main thing is you have to understand what that objection is and just handle that objection. It's like remarketing ads. You're just handling a particular objection.
Interesting. Yeah. No, but
so
they very rarely
but
work.
if you're in a situation where you have to keep following up with people, then I would say you have to keep following up every day.
Wow.
Whether they pick up or not, just say, hey, I'm very persistent. I'm going to keep calling you until you pick up. So you better pick up. I'm not going to let you go until you block me or pick up. Go ahead and pick up.
What? That's so aggressive. You do that, eh?
Yeah, because they're being aggressive right now. You're doing the same thing.
I mean, if it's a business, yeah, why not? I mean, so this is what the Patrick Bet David thing.
Oh no, when you're dealing with stuff like courses and stuff, I don't think you should do this B2C, by the way.
Yeah,
B2C.
no, I think this is great advice for business to business.
Yeah,
B2C, and the fortune in the follow-up is very B2C because the customer is a lot of times I feel like they'll buy from whoever keeps bugging them. Like, let's just say insurance. If it's a car, it's like I could buy from this car. Like every car company has like the same 6 models. So if you're the car company that just calls and is really cool and remembers something about their kid or whatever, that's what a lot of people say. That's what pulls them over. But that's a very B2C tactic, I think, the fortune in the follow-up. I think B2B, it's just like, hey, you're a business person. Are we doing this or not? You want to keep losing money? What are you doing? Like, yeah, I think it's fair for a business, you just keep getting on the phone with them.
When you're going B2C, the thing is, they're just normal people. And if they want to buy, they buy. If they don't want to buy, they don't buy. If you're dealing with businesses, then they actually have someone to take care of their follow-ups. Usually, like even cold calls, they have a gatekeeper all the time. Yeah. And they have someone to take care of their follow-ups. So they're actually prepared for that. Many companies even have policies like you can't buy on the first call, or you can't buy until you have 3 quotes. You can't buy until you have 10 proposals.
Wow.
Even if you have the best product, you can't buy. That's just the policy. That's just the way they do things.
Yeah. Wow.
So you want to keep following up until you get it done.
Yeah.
It's about that persistence, right? Like the person who persists the most is gonna end up winning.
Yeah.
I would say the bigger the problem is, if it's a small problem, forget about it. If it's a $5,000 course, just forget about it. But if you are selling something that solves a very big problem of theirs, like naturally, what would you do if they're saying no to something that they really need right now? Following up is not bad, right?
Yeah.
If it's something that they just want or something, then you shouldn't follow up because you're bugging their day. If it's something that is really important to them, then you should keep following up. Think of what an ethical guy would naturally do.
Yeah.
You put an ethical guy on a phone, and then like, would he start pitching that guy, or would he ask questions? What's your problem and all of that? And then try to understand.
Yeah, try to understand. Try to consult.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. And I think B2C, if it's more of a casual thing, I think that fortune might be in the follow-up there maybe, because I remember the Patrick Bet David video, he said there's finders, closers, and developers, or the follow-up people. And he essentially says that the closing and the follow-up, you can kind of script and just hand off to people. So like closing is tough, but you can script that and you can hire kids until they figure it out. The follow-up is very scripted. So he almost doesn't take it too seriously. He kind of looks at it as like, and it is more of a B2C thing, because if it's like B2C, what you do is you just get someone working on that. Once you have like 200, 300 like people in the pipeline, I think it might be a good investment. Just have one person and they're just kind of cycling through that all the time. They have not a literal script, but like he actually says very specific notes about them, like what is their family into, what is their kid, and then call back with like, hey, like you kind of include that. Very salesy, but that's his follow. But he basically says his thing is like the fortune is in the finding. The finder people, that's the people that hit big money. Whereas he says that closers will get stuck around 300,000, and then developers will get stuck around 200,000 or something like that. But he was like, if you can go find a new client and like just bring a steady supply that can be closed, that's where your millions of dollars are. Like the hardest thing to do is finding people, because it's more artistic, I feel like. And he's kind of saying that too, whereas the closing and the developing, those can kind of be scripted and kind of like less so for the closing.
Many people think that you have to find clients, but I think if you're just trying to find clients, then again, that's very limited. What you should do is you should have a system or a machine that keeps getting those clients, like attracting those clients to you, getting them on the phone.
I think that's what he's talking about. Basically what we're doing, which is like the creative, the funnel, like being good at that is like $1 million skill. And then initially you have to close yourself, but he was just saying that eventually you think closing is this crazy impossible thing, but he was saying, and he runs like basically the insurance MLM, I guess, but he basically says like closing is actually something you can get down to a script and you can hire a bunch of 20 to 25-year-olds. They'll learn it, they'll practice it in a week. Half of them will figure it out, the other half you let them go. And like that's kind of his closing thing. And then the follow-up is another scripted kind of a thing, worth even less. But the finding, which is what we're doing, basically making the funnel that brings people in, that's like the golden goose. That's like the big, that's the tough skill that people can't.
Yeah, and that includes your branding, your marketing, you building your funnel.
Yeah, it's big ticket Titan work. It's big ticket Titan work is what that
Basically, it's just three things. One is the exposure you create, like you need more exposure, and then you need more conversions to convert those people, all that attention you got from that exposure, and then you got to close them.
Yeah.
So those three things are important.
Oh, right. And then he was including in developing people in like having a system of going back and upping them. That was another thing where he's like development is actually very valuable too, because you should always be looking at the future of their company and saying, okay, are we getting you up to here now? So now that you're up to here, we're going to charge a little more. We think that you need to do this, this, and this, and like start closing them on the next thing that they got to do and just charging them more money and stuff like that. So that is kind of what he includes in development as well. Not just follow-up, but that and follow-up. So, but he was saying that it could be scripted, whereas finding people is the tough thing. And finding and like getting them through, and I guess getting them right up to that closing is like that tough. Because like even right now for us, right, Waleed, what would you say is our next move then? And I think I have a couple of ideas, but like what's our next move in getting more kind of sales calls in the door for the big ticket Titans?
Number one thing means before you do anything, you have to make sure you have two things ready. A very, 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 very irresistible offer that people really want to buy. And the second thing is a front-end offer, or you can say it's a hook. Mm-hmm. Like all of the people who want to buy your offer or who would be interested in your offer, what is that one thing that they're like that you can give for free or something under $200? Like what is it that all these people want that you can give for under $200 or free?
I mean, I'm almost thinking like a script for their trailer might be the best thing, even to follow up with some of these guys. It's like, because we got to write the ads eventually anyway. So it might be a good practice for us to write the ads, but do you think it would be a good idea to even follow up with people and be like, hey, based on our conversation, we think this would be a really tight script to get you more clients in the door, even for the guy that I was saying was being negative or whatever. It's like, do you think that would be a good move, Waleed, to just kind of be like, hey, this is based on our conversation, based on your clientele, this is the first ad I think we should run. And if that ad is tight, shouldn't it hook them too? But I feel like if that ad is funny, we did a lot of jokes in that call too. Too bad we didn't record it, but like we had him laughing a lot. That's what's so negative.
The main thing you're trying to do with that like, no. Under $200 thing is you're trying to build a relationship with your customer. The problem is most people, they just try to directly go and sell, but sell their products and services to customers. The problem with that is there's a very, like only 3% of people in any given market are like, I want to buy now.
Yeah. They're
like ready to buy in a hunt mode, right? But the thing is you want to get all kind of people who don't even know that they have your problem. Mm-hmm. At least you want to at least have people who are in the information gathering mode. If you're like getting in people who are at least in the information gathering mode, then you will have like 10 times more people coming through your pipeline than just going and directly selling your product.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Right.
It's like 30% of people in any given market means there's like top 3% of any given market, they're interested to buy right now. I want to buy something, and they're going and Googling and all of that, right? Mm-hmm. Another 7% of people, they're interested, they're open to buy. They're not going to buy right now. If they get a good offer, then they'll buy. Those kind of people. And then there's 20% of people after that who are in the information gathering mode, who are trying to get more information about what they have to buy.